Welcome to the Mad Dad Movie Review, a podcast full of first-time movie reviews starring Mads and her dad.
I'm Mads.
And I'm her dad. And this is Mad Dad Movie Review. How goes it, everybody? And welcome back to an all-new edition of the Halloween Horrorthon, where so far this season we've talked about ghouls, we've talked about zombies, we've talked about vampires, we've talked about mummies, we've talked about fog banks, we've talked about cemeteries, but today I want to talk about ghosts, and more specifically, I want to talk about 13 ghosts.
There are ghosts around us all the time. Most of them, they can't hurt us. Most of them don't even want to hurt us. But there are exceptions.
Is it bad tonight?
Oh, bad? It is my professional opinion. We should get the hell out of here. Now.
I represent the estate of your Uncle Cyrus.
We have an Uncle Cyrus?
Cyrus recorded this message 6 weeks ago. He asked it to be played for you in the event of his death.
Arthur, I've instructed my lawyer to deliver my last will and testament.
A key?
A key to what?
A key to your new house. This house is the fruit of my life's work.
Oh my God.
It is a one-of-a-kind home.
It's marvelous, isn't it?
Wow.
Arthur, we've got some papers to sign in the library. After that, I would love to take you and the family around on a tour of the house.
This place is awesome!
All right, now I know I'm dreaming.
Well, your uncle was quite a collector of many things.
What the hell was that?
You're wasting your time. It's all sealed up.
This house is not a house. We're in the middle of the machine, powered by the dead.
Maggie! What?
We got company.
Where? I can't see. How close is it?
Close enough to hurt you?
Go, go, go! Can I rely on you not to get me killed?
I guarantee nothing.
Alright guys, like I said, my name is Ed, this is the Halloween Horrorthon, and thank you so much for tuning in to an all-new, exciting episode. This is a good one. This is one that a lot of people seem to be a fan of. I would say, of all the horror movies that have been released over the last 20 years, I'd put this in like its own little category of just popular horror films that just reached people and connected with people. And I don't know what it was about the movie. I don't know if it was the fact that it had Matthew Lillard. I don't know if it's the fact that it had just all these insane ghosts. I don't know if it's the fact that just 2001 was a weird time for the genre. I don't know what it is, but I know this film is popular. I know this film gets talked about a lot. And I know this because, well, originally this was going to be an episode on Phantasm. And then at the very last second, I was like, you know what? I got this 13 Ghosts brand new Blu-ray from Scream Factory. And I'm sitting there looking at the cover box and I'm like, 13 Ghosts. Well, I think that a hell of a lot more people will want to hear an episode on 13 Ghosts than they will on Phantasm. So, not putting Phantasm back just yet, though. Hear me out. So, kind of similar to what I did with RoboCop about a month ago. That also had an episode planned, and the last minute got not canceled, because it's not, believe me. RoboCop is coming, guys. But what I'm doing with this, and I might as well say I'm doing the same thing for RoboCop, is going to start doing special one-off franchise episodes, if you catch my drift. Phantasm being the first film in a 5-film series, I mean, it can easily fit into 1 or 2 episodes, just condensing all 5 storylines into one main plot, which is essentially what Phantasm is. It follows a structured story from the first film to the last. It really does. It's not like, one of the sequels is an off story. It's not. The entire Phantasm franchise follows one coherent story. And same goes for RoboCop. Even though they did a complete 180 with that third film, it still ties into the storylines from the first 2 films. So there's things to be talked about, and they will be talked about, rather than just doing an episode for each sequel. I'm just going to do them all together. And I've talked to Madeline. She thinks it's a great idea, and that's the game plan. And we will get to those starting after the holidays, because we pretty much, here at Mad Dad, we've got the schedule pretty much locked in for the rest of 2020. And it's a schedule that I love, and I think you all are going to love too. I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be pretty sad once October's over and we got no more horror. Oh, no, that's a lie. We do have one more horror film coming up after October, and that is Child's Play 2, coming up on November 9th, when the day of the film's 30th anniversary. And if you listen to the top 10 and whatnot, it's one of my favorites, and it's a film that I hold close to me dearly. And then, of course, it's the 30th anniversary, and unfortunately, we lost the film's director, John Lafia, earlier this year, and I kind of wanted to talk about that in his memory as well. So that will be coming after Halloween, but as far as horror goes, we've got Child's Play 2 in November, and that's it. The rest of the lineup for Mad Dad for the rest of the year we've got some great titles. I'm excited about a lot of these titles we're doing. But as far as like horror, yeah, unfortunately, it's going to be coming to an end after the 31st, or rather, Child's Play 2. But you know what I'm saying. So before I before I jump into this, I just want to let you guys know that you can always listen to past episodes on iTunes, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcast, Anchor, Breaker, Stitcher, and wherever else you enjoy your favorite shows. You can follow us on Facebook.com at Mad Dad Movie Review, YouTube.com at Mad Dad Movie Review, Instagram.com at Mad Dad Movie Review, and finally Twitter.com at Mad Dad Movie Pod. And of course, if you have any questions, emails, or requests, always email them to maddadmoviereview@gmail.com. And with that being said, let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
So let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
So 13 Ghosts was released on October 26, 2001 from Warner Brothers Pictures. It opened up in second place against K-Pax, From Hell, Training Day, and Bandits. Film had an opening weekend box office of $15.2 million, going on to gross $68.5 million worldwide on a budget of $42 million. It was directed by Steve Beck, produced by Robert Zemeckis, Joel Silver, and Gilbert Adler, written for the screen by Neil Marshall Stevens, based on Rob White's 13 Ghosts. Music by John Frizzell, edited by Derek Bretchen, and cinematography by Gail Tattersall. The players involved were Tony Shalhoub as Arthur, Annabeth Davis as Kalina, Matthew Lillard as Dennis, Shannon Elizabeth as Kathy, Alec Roberts as Bobby, J.R. Bourne as Ben Moss, Rod Digga as Maggie, and F. Murray Abraham as Cyrus. So for my money, this is still one of the more popular titles in the genre. I feel whenever I talk horror with non-traditional horror fans, this is usually one of the titles that gets brought up 9 times out of 10. They usually cite the film's crazy effects, Matthew Lillard's out-of-control portrayal, and just the ghosts themselves as the things that they remember the most, the things that stand out to them. with the GP obviously still supporting 13 Ghosts, let's head over to the Critics Corner and see what they had to say. So 13 Ghosts has a current Rotten Tomatoes score of 16%. It's from 94 reviews. Jesus. A Metascore of 30 from 24 reviews. A Cinema score of C+, and a Letterboxd average score of 2.6 out of 5. With mostly negative reviews, praise was directed towards the production design, but the film was criticized for its lack of scares and number of strobe effects throughout that could cause seizures. I mean, personally, that's called editing, but whatever. Only real critic I can get voice on is Roger Ebert. He was quoted saying, "The production is first rate, the physical look of the picture is splendid. However, he criticized the story, lack of interesting characters, loud soundtrack, and poor editing." And then in 2005, he even went as far as to include it on his list of most hated films. So, ouch. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this 16% Rotten Tomato score, and I'm seeing that it's from 94 reviews. And that's telling me that, yeah, critics had a field day with this, and rightfully so. But like I always say, who gives a damn what they had to say? We only read what they have to say because we want to be entertained, right? So, yeah, entertain me. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, let me tell you guys why I love this film. I love this film because of Matt Lillard and the quirky bag of goodies he brings to the role. I love this film because it's a genre film starring a big name like F. Murray Abraham, and it always makes me smile seeing big names in genre films. I love this film because of the stylish camera shots in the junkyard of the film's big opening. I love this film because of the unique editing going on throughout. I love this film because at a brisk 90 minutes, it'll always be a satisfying viewing. I love this film because of the fact that people still bring up that big lawyer death in today's genre conversations. I love this film because of each ghost's distinctive appearance and how the makeup definitely still holds up. I love this film because of the execution of the film's main plot. I love this film because of John Frizzell's beautifully chaotic score. I love it because of the flawless set design. And finally, I love this film because, I don't know about you, but to me, 13 Ghosts sure are better than one. So the origins to this film, it's pretty simple. I mentioned before, it's produced by Robert Zemeckis and Gilbert Adler and Joel Silver. These three guys created a company a couple years prior to this called Dark Castle Entertainment. Dark Castle was a horror production company that was under the Warner Brothers label. These three guys they were heavy hitters in the genre back in the early to mid to late 90s, actually pretty much throughout the 90s. They're the reason why Tales from the Crypt was a show that was successfully ran for 7 seasons on HBO. That was in part to these three guys. So more or less after that show ran its course and ended up being canceled, they created this Dark Castle Entertainment, and their first project under their belt was the Warner Brothers remake of House on Haunted Hill from 1999. And then they wanted to follow that up with remaking another big William Castle production, and so they chose 13 Ghosts. And rather than me go on and on and on and on, yada yada about this, I actually have a clip from one of the producers, Gilbert Adler, who kind of talks about where this came from and who they are, and he tells you guys the story better than I do, so I'll just let him go. Hang on a second, let me find that button. Here we go. What's up, Gilbert?
Dark Castle Entertainment was a company that we formed while we were thinking and talking and shooting Tales from the Crypt. You know, we had a television series on HBO for over 10 years. And Bob Zemeckis, Dick Donner, Walter Hill, Joel Silver, and I had that show on HBO. Well, Dark Castle as a company was designed to make horror movies for a price that would be something that would be very commercial and that would get Warner Brothers very excited about distributing. And we were successful, we think, in that respect because we made a number of pictures that way with great characters, because we thought even in those days, even from Tales from the Crypt days, we always felt the characters were the most important thing. The relationship and the characters and the emotion of those characters would make you feel something for them when we were nasty and we had blood, guts, and gore. So that was the function of taking the idea from Tales from the Crypt and making it into a bigger event with motion pictures. The initial endeavor for Dark Castle was this House on Haunted Hill, starring Australian Geoffrey Rush, I might add. And we shot that in just outside of Los Angeles in Santa Clarita. We had stages out there and worked very well. I think our interest, as was with Tales from the Crypt with Bill Gaines and his comic books, was to be very dedicated to telling the story in the way that Castle would have liked it. And his daughter was an associate producer on the movie. She was very involved. I was very concerned that she loved the script, not like it. Similarly, with Bill Gaines, I made sure Bill loved each episode we did before we shot it. Because I think that's really important. I mean, somebody does something that's really, really good, and you want to emulate it, and you want to make a remake of it. Why would you want to do it so that the original creator doesn't like it? And so we were very concerned about making sure that the Castle estate and the Castle family liked what we were doing. So that was very important to us.
All right, I think at this point we are ready to jump into the film's plot, so let's get to it. All right, here we go. Right away, we are reminded this is a 2001 movie. How do I know this? Well, the Warner Brothers logo has an AOL Time Warner Company written at the bottom of it still. I thought that was pretty funny watching this morning. After that, we get the always badass Dark Castle logo. And then the film itself opens up. It's nighttime. It's in a junkyard. Got a bunch of, a few eerie shots lingering of wind blowing caution tape around. Kind of setting the tone of the film. And then what follows that is a SUV which viciously drives through the gate of the place, and a few SUVs follow. A group of workers wearing some sort of hazard suits jump out of the SUVs, and they all start running around setting up the job that they are there to perform. And then an old antique car pulls up, and this is where we're introduced to Cyrus and Dennis, played by F. Murray Abraham and Matthew Lillard. This is my second favorite Lillard performance. I think he brings a whole different level of awkwardness and tension to his character. You can definitely tell right off the bat that there's something up with Dennis. He's not your average Joe. He's on edge. He's just panicked. He's kind of a character who's always looking over his shoulder. He's a guy who knows what he's doing is wrong, but he's doing it anyway. So right away, Dennis is having severe psychosis attacks. Like, as soon as he gets out of the car, like, he's grabbing his head and just having an episode. And that's when Cyrus asks if it's bad tonight. Dennis says it feels like he's breathing down my neck. And then he goes to take a pill, and then that's when Cyrus knocks the pill bottle out of his hands and says he needs him clear-headed. After this, Cyrus has Dennis point him in the direction of the ghost that they're there to capture. After he does so, Cyrus has him bring in the cube, which is this big, clear, like, cell block that we eventually learn is what they use to just capture the ghosts and keep them captive, with some Latin inscriptions on the sides that kind of act as a barrier for these ghosts. We learn that Cyrus is a collector of ghosts and that Dennis is his way of capturing them. And then next we find Kalina and Damon, who are a couple of, I guess, former employees, because they just show up out of nowhere, and they both just have a big issue with what's going on. They're ridiculing Cyrus for what he's doing. He laughs it off and taunts him back. And this is where Kalina says that they're human beings. And then Dennis chimes in saying they're dead human beings and tells her to go on and just go join the Green Corps or something, Greenpeace. Kalina asks Cyrus who he is to play God, and Cyrus responds with planes for children. So yeah, lines like that. This movie, whoever wrote this, this was written by a couple of people, actually. I'm not familiar with their work. So it's just camp. I mean, the dialogue, who are you to play God, planes for children. I mean, come on. You know what kind of movie this is going to be. So it's next revealed that there's a 13th ghost, and this freaks Dennis out. He says that he wasn't told of any 13th ghosts. And this kind of just kicks into another episode that he has. Cyrus next has a truck spraying blood everywhere, drive around to the junkyard. And this is when the team opens up the cell, and he then sets the ritual to this kind of like Latin ritual to go with the inscriptions on the cells. He has an actual ritual played over the speakers, and this kind of like this reveals the Juggernaut ghost. The Juggernaut's this big, tall, like I want to say he's like almost 7 feet tall, just big, fit, lean guy who's just like a muscle. I mean, he's not built like the Hammer ghost, but he's definitely, he can hold his own in a fight. So he appears, and he's wearing this like almost like a prison like suit or like jumpsuit, so to speak. It's kind of like khaki colored and it's old, and he's a ghost. So he's brutally killing several workers, like a couple of them. A few people can just get pulled off screen. Another guy gets yanked into a car, like snapped in half. Someone else gets pulled into the driver's seat of a car, and then when the door shuts, like blood splatters all over the windshield. So it's stuff like that. The Juggernaut chases a guy into the cell block, and it closes as the guy, unlucky fella, just gets slaughtered inside with him. It's next revealed that Damon as well as Cyrus were also killed during the Juggernaut's reign as the scene fades to black. So the rest of the film's opening credits start playing over a very creative shot with Arthur's children, Kathy and Bobby, playing in the backyard. And we've got Arthur and Jean, his wife. They're kind of admiring them. You know, it's a happy family shot. And then the camera starts to slowly start panning around the living room, doing a 360 shot, slowly, as the credits are playing. And as it's slowly going around the room, everything goes from good to bad. All of the happy voiceovers, they eventually turn to horrifying voiceovers. And then we hear a fire going off to the screams of various family members before it's revealed that Jean, Arthur's wife, actually perished in the fire. So when the camera finally makes it back around, it's set to Arthur, who's now in an apartment, and he's just depressingly looking out this window to a brick wall that's next to it, and it's revealed that the surviving members now live in a small apartment, and they're all broke, and they're late on all their bills. Which brings us to the family breakfast. The youngest son, Bobby, is seen recording his own version of the news on a tape recorder. Kind of like a little a reporter or a little podcaster in training for 2001 standards. Arthur comes in, and the family have what first appears to be a happy moment, including the family maid Maggie, played by Rod Digga. And then it all turns into anger. This is when Cyrus's lawyer, Ben Moss, arrives, and he comes in and tells the family about Arthur's uncle Cyrus, who Arthur said squandered money from families. I'm sorry. Take that back. He says that he squandered the family's money. That's what it is. But the money's about to be his. The lawyer plays a video of Cyrus, revealing them as the sole beneficiaries, and informs them of the new home. He said it's the fruit of his life's work, as pictures of the one-of-a-kind place are shown. He said that he's lived an interesting life and seen many amazing things, but never got to know Arthur, and that the house is his way of making up for it. So we see Ben next, heading towards the house. He tells the guys, he tells the family that he's heading that way, that he can give them a tour if they want to go out with him. So they do. And like I said, next shot is them go into the house. Driving through a wooded area towards the house, Ben says his uncle loved his privacy and that there isn't another person for miles. Arthur then tells Kathy it looks like things are starting to get better. So Kalina, from earlier, is now seen preparing herself with dynamite sticks and tapes with spells on them as the shot fades to black as she rolls out like she's prepared to do battle all over again. It fades back to the family arriving at their new home, and when they get there, Dennis, played by Matthew Lillard, he's already there out front looking around with a flashlight. He's dressed up in an orange jumpsuit like he's an electrician, and he says that the house is knocking out all the power in the entire tri-quad area, and that he needs to get inside to check the breakers. Ben asks if he can come back tomorrow, and Dennis sarcastically says that there's 5,570 houses without power, and that his boss kind of needs him to take care of it. And this is when Arthur intervenes and allows Dennis to come inside. So the house finally opens up, and the way this happens is it's like this key card entry. He kind of puts it in the slot, and then it's slowly everything starts to slowly open up like an old grandfather clock. The wheels are starting to churn, and the house eventually opens up for everyone. They go in and are amazed by the appearance and features of the state-of-the-art home. This is where we see all of the Latin scriptures written all over the place. Pretty much every glass panel, because this house is made of entirely made of glass. I should have added. Definitely a one of a kind. Not quite sure if it's something that I would want to live in personally, because it's literally all decked out in glass. So, this is where Dennis is seen walking around in an area alone, and he wants to see exactly what Cyrus is up to. The family, they're all in the living room with Ben, and Dennis asks where the basement is so he can get his ass out of here. After Dennis goes to the basement, Ben tells Arthur that they have paperwork to sign, and that after they do that, he can give them a tour of the house. Arthur tells everyone to stay in the living room while he goes to sign the paperwork, but of course, as soon as he leaves, the rest of the family goes off to explore. And cut to the basement now, we see Dennis down there looking for the money that he's owed, and discovers the cells that Cyrus has, when he begins having more psychosis episodes that intensify as he encounters the 12 ghosts one by one. And this is when we start to see their appearances for the first time. It's in a way, he's just walking down the hallway and kind of passes each cell, and we get a cool little shot of each individual ghost. And then we cut to the den of the home. This is where Ben and Cyrus are. Ben is preparing the paperwork. Not Cyrus, I mean Arthur. Ben is preparing the paperwork when Arthur stops him and says that he's just a math teacher and the taxes alone would be too much to worry about. And he said, the fire took everything. And then Ben cuts him off and tells him that Cyrus was a genius with expenses and that his family will never have to worry about money again. As Arthur goes to sign the paperwork, Dennis intervenes and tries to warn him about the place. Desperately tries to tell him about the ghosts in the basement, and then this is when Arthur thinks about what he's saying. At first he thinks he's talking about goats, and then it's a pretty funny line. You mean goats? He's like, no, not goats, ghosts. And then Arthur and Ben kind of share a laugh after Dennis elaborates more, kind of, mocking him and whatnot. Arthur's just kind of going along, because you can tell Arthur's a nice guy. He's not a cruddy person at all. He's a man with a big heart, and yeah, I'm definitely I really like the way Tony Shalhoub. Great casting, by the way. Tony Shalhoub as this father Arthur. I can tell they're looking for an actor who has a heart, who's kind of just a genuine person, and that's exactly the kind of things I would say when I look and describe Tony Shalhoub. He's all of those things. He's a great actor. Monk, he's most known for. I kind of wish he did more, to be honest with you. So back to the movie. Maggie, Bobby, and Kathy are exploring the house. Like I said, Kathy finds a bathroom. No, she finds a bedroom first, sorry, with a very nice bed, and then she flips onto it in excitement. Back in the den, Dennis continues to try convincing Arthur of the ghosts when he has another episode, and when Arthur touches him, he begins having flashing visions of Jean burning alive and screaming, which makes him collapse, and he tells him not to touch him. He does not want to be touched. So he calms down a little bit, and then he asks where the suit is. So back to Ben in the basement. He's walking past each ghost, and he's taunting them, kind of like Dennis was, but Dennis was not taunting. Dennis was legit scared. This guy, Ben's not having it. Taunts them all as he's walking down to the end where he finds his briefcase full of money, which sets off, it's set on a trigger, and when he picks up the briefcase, the trigger is set, it's released, and all of the ghost cells, not all of them, but some of them, slowly begin opening. So basically what he just did is he triggered the house, that this house shifts. I'm not quite sure if there's like a system or if it's by random, because it happens throughout the film, and it's never really established what makes it happen. It just happens kind of when the plot conveniently calls for it. But here, it's the first, and it's set off by this trigger, and so a couple of cells are opened up, and that is that. Dennis notices the shift going on, and he tells Arthur it's time to leave. When they go to get the kids, he notices that they've run off, and the two panic. So, the two panic to find them so they can get out. Ben is next seen approaching. He's approached by the angry princess ghost. He's kind of just backing up, take it easy, because she's out of her cell now, and he knows this because he's got the glasses. So he's slowly backing up, and she's slowly walking after him, holding a knife. And what happens next is as he's backing up, he backs into a panel where the sliding door closes on him while he's in the middle of the doorway, slicing his body in half from side to side as we see his front half slowly fall down, revealing the insides to the back half that's still held up against the other side of the glass panel. So Ben's gone. Our first big, I want to say this, it's not the first death, but it's the first big death. And I'd argue this is the death that this film is known for. So it kind of peaks here at this moment. Arthur and Dennis split up to find the kids. Bobby is seen riding around the halls on his Razor scooter when Kathy enters the upstairs bathroom. Here we go. Which is revealed to have bloody walls, and it's already being occupied by the angry princess. None of this can be seen, of course, because Kathy's not wearing the goggles. So everything Kathy's seeing, it is a gorgeous, beautiful, clean, tidy bathroom, But in reality, blood's everywhere. Angry princess's ghost is chilling in the bathtub. And yeah, that's that. So we also see "I'm sorry" written on the floor in blood. And we see this as Kathy turns the bathwater on. And the angry princess is inside, kind of awkwardly holding the knife, doesn't know what to do. She's kind of looking down and looking up and looking down in this moment. And Kathy starts washing her face. And when the water turns to blood, Arthur suddenly knocks on the door and asks where Bobby is. And she blames it on Maggie, who in turn says she accidentally lost him. And this angers poor Arthur. He said, "This is what I pay you for," yada yada. So we see Bobby again, riding on his scooter, and then a voice calls out for him to come into the basement. Bobby goes downstairs wearing the goggles when another voice warns him not to come down, as a second voice tells him to do so. So he's getting kind of conflicting voices. He ends up following the first voice and goes down to the basement, thinking that that's where Maggie and Kathy are. So Kathy, Maggie, and Arthur head back to the main room where Dennis is seen sitting in a chair, now wearing a suit, with a pill bottle in his hand. The pills are back. Arthur makes Dennis stay in his sight while they look for his son, and that's when they go to look for Bobby. We hear Maggie ask if the lawyers split. Ha ha ha. The core is shown again, and this time it opens the cell of the bound woman ghost while Bobby is looking around. She chases him until he runs into a wall and gets knocked out, When he wakes up, he hears his mother's voice telling him to get out of the basement and go upstairs. He puts his glasses back on to see his mother's ghost. When he turns around, he sees a bloody Cyrus, and that's when he boogies out of there. So next we have Dennis explaining the passages to everybody about how the Latin scriptures are used to block the ghosts. This is when Arthur tries to go downstairs to save his son, and Dennis stops him, yelling, "What do you think's down there, a petting zoo? No, there are ghosts." This is when Arthur offers to pay Dennis whatever his uncle was paying him to enter the basement and save his son with him. So he does. And when they go down there, Arthur has this genius cliche idea of everybody splitting up for at least 5 minutes so they can find Bobby. So in doing so, we now are stuck with Dennis and Maggie together and Kathy and her father Arthur together. First off, Dennis and Maggie, they're searching, and Dennis has more interactions with the ghosts. He's having more episodes in his head. Maggie's not believing it, thinks it's an act, and then that's when he goes to give her his his glasses. She finally sees the ghost and now is a believer. Dennis then after this has a vision in his head of his own apparent demise. Cut to Arthur and Kathy. They find Bobby's tape deck, and it has a recording of him on it screaming. Kathy then assures her father that they're going to find Bobby. And then this is when Dennis finds the Jackal's cell block empty, scaring the shit out of this poor bastard. Kathy's now shown putting the glasses on to find the Jackal, who then proceeds to attack her, scratching at her, clawing at her, pulls her down the hall and lifts her up a wall when suddenly Kalina appears from around the corner with a flare, throws it at the Jackal ghost, and saves the day. With the help of Arthur, the two of them pull a petrified Kathy up the hall as the Jackal comes after her in a pretty cool shot. They eventually save her when the glass panel closes, and it separates them from the ghosts. So they're kind of in their own little makeshift room now. Like I said, these walls, these panels, they shift pretty much whenever the plot calls for them to. So conveniently now, this just happened. Next, we see Dennis scared because he has just seen the firstborn son ghost. Kalina explains to Arthur that she frees trapped souls and that she was there to save them. When he doesn't believe what's happening, Kalina has Arthur put on the glasses to see for himself. She explains that Cyrus had a nasty habit of trapping souls, so she slipped inside to save them from the ghosts, and that she hopes the passages hold. It's next revealed that Kathy has disappeared and the firstborn ghost is shown again with an evil smile. So the panels now shift again. This time they shift on Dennis and Maggie. Dennis ends up being trapped. He then begins having episodes again before being attacked by the Torn Prince. He's dodging the ghost's baseball hits as at the guidance of Maggie, because prior to this, when the panels were shifting, he actually tossed Maggie his glasses. So he no longer has the glasses for this moment. He's being attacked by a dude with a baseball bat. So Maggie's trying her hardest to guide him. And yeah, he finally gets to escape. The two run upstairs to an empty hall before Dennis goes into another mild episode before encountering the great child and dire mother ghosts. The two run away and find Kalina coming up from the floor when another shift occurs and the Hammer's cell block opens up on Arthur before he is rescued. Arthur is then attacked by the Jackal when he's rescued by another flare, and then he's pulled to rescue by Dennis and Maggie. Safe in the den, Dennis and Kalina argue in front of everyone when it's revealed who the fourth ghost is, and the fourth ghost is Arthur's wife, Jean. We're then treated to a classic montage of all 13 ghosts. And how's that go again?
According to this, there should be 12 earthbound spirits trapped inside. See these? They represent the Black Zodiac. They represent the ghost that Cyrus needed to catch. The firstborn son. The torso. The bound woman. The withered lover. Jean. torn prince. The angry princess. The pilgrimess. The great child and the dire mother. The hammer. And here, the sign of hell's winter. The jackal. And the juggernaut.
All right, so now it's revealed that 11 ghosts have been released total, and the house needs 12 plus a human sacrifice of the broken heart, meaning Arthur is number 13 when he leaps into the eye of the house. Dennis says there's got to be a better way. Kalina empties her bag of dynamite. She says that the plan now is to blow the place up before the 12th and final ghost is released, and this is done much to the dismay of Dennis. He instead convinces Arthur to go back out with him to find the kids. Before going, he makes sure Kalina has enough explosives to blow the place up successfully. Arthur and Dennis then head out with a glass panel in hand to protect them from any ghosts that they encounter. Meanwhile, Maggie and Kalina head downstairs to distract things and give Arthur more time. Arthur and Dennis are eventually attacked, first by the Torn Prince and then by the Hammer and the Juggernaut, who end up killing Dennis hand in hand, Hammer and Juggernaut, just by beating him down just brutally. And then they eventually, the Juggernaut lifts him up and snaps his back in half. All of this is going on while Arthur's crying out for him not to die while being protected by the panel. So, rest in peace, Dennis. I've never liked this moment because it's always tough seeing one of your favorite characters go out the way he does. I remember the first time seeing this movie, I thought for sure Lillard was going to make it out okay, but not quite, so it sucks. Plus, it sucks when you're such a fan. This is about talking about the actual actor. You know, you got an actor you really like in this case, it's Matthew Lillard. You know, yeah, they're an actor, so there's going to be movies or performances where their character dies, but you still don't like seeing it. And Lillard's like another one of those people. Like, I know he dies in a handful of his movies, but I never like it. It sucks, and this is no different. So Kalina and Maggie get to the core, and this is where it's revealed that Cyrus is still alive and in cahoots with Kalina. The two knock Maggie out and they share a kiss together before he gives her crap like he usually does and starts playing a ritual to make the ghost disappear. And then he goes to leave the room and has her grab his bag. And when she does so and comes back, he traps her and crushes her to death with the wall panels. Arthur is then reunited with his wife's ghost. He tells her how much he loves and misses her. It's a really good, effective scene, especially when it's performed by someone as innocent and genuine as Tony Shalhoub. She fades away, and then it's revealed that Kathy and Bobby are tied up at the center of the core, and we're now playing into what is supposed to be done to become the 13th ghost. And like was mentioned earlier, how Arthur's supposed to play a hand in this. He puts his glasses on to reveal that all of the ghosts are now there, surrounding the core together, almost hand in hand. He turns to see his Uncle Cyrus, but when he takes his glasses off, he's still standing in front of him, revealing to him he's been alive all along and that this was all a trap. Arthur runs after him, and the two start fighting, but it doesn't last long because Cyrus gets the upper hand, starts berating Arthur and beating the crap out of him, calling him a loser, kicking him while he's down, this, that, and the third. He said he had chose him and his pathetic family because the machine needed a ghost created from pure love, and so he gets to become the 13th ghost. Maggie all of a sudden saves the day, kind of a Deus Ex Maggie. She starts messing with the playback of the ritual like a DJ, of course, HAL 2001. And she also messes with the main controller, starts flipping switches, the old thing. And this causes the core to haywire, and the remaining ghosts then pick Cyrus up and throw him into it, which tears him apart. So we go on. Arthur dead, Cyrus dead again. Arthur now sees the ghost of Dennis. who tells him he still has the power and that his kids need him. Arthur next jumps through the core to his kids unscathed as the house begins to explode. The family embrace together as the entire inside of the house is destroyed and all of the glass is shattered around, freeing all the ghosts to the outside world. Pretty cool shot of the destructed house on the left, and it kind of pans to the right, and you see all of the ghosts walk outside and into the woods. It's nice. The surviving members all have a moment when Jean appears without her burns and tells her family she loves them all before disappearing, and we fade to black. But then we get a quick scene of Maggie saying that she's sick of being a nanny and is seen walking around the rumble still by herself, saying she quits before cutting to the end credits. And that, my friends, is 13 Ghosts. Okay, before I wrap things up, I do have a few trivia notes on here. First thing is the ghost glasses concept was one of only a few details that were kept from the original film. The torso ghost in the movie was actually a real double amputee who they put a black hood over them so that they could digitally remove it in the post-production. The Angry Princess, her makeup took the longest to apply at a mere 5 hours. This is actually one that I'm kind of surprised at because I figured that the hammer would have taken the longest, but no, guess I'm wrong. Or IMDb's wrong. You decide. Duncan MacLeod's dragon katana from Highlander appears in Cyrus's collection of swords. This one I feel would mean more to me if I was more of a Highlander fan, which, gotta be real with you guys, I was never the biggest Highlander fan, so sorry. It's the first film from a major studio that stars 3 Arab American leads. We have Shannon Elizabeth, Tony Shalhoub, and F. Murray Abraham. And finally, I have this as one of only 2 movies that director Steve Beck directed. This and Ghost Ship, which I actually know, and I kind of just put that on there just to add one more off the top of my head. Alright, so wrapping things up, we have a final body count of 9. My unbiased MVP goes to Matthew Lillard for obvious reasons. My Be Kind Rewind, most rewatchable moment, goes to the Jackal sequence when she goes and attacks Kathy and has to get pulled to safety. I just find something about that scene to always be effective. I think it's the scariest sequence of the film, with the most intensity, and I remember seeing this. All I can remember is going back to that night in the theater watching this movie on Halloween night in 2001, and that scene standing out as, like, I don't know if it was the fact that we were in the dark and we had like these big surround sound speakers, this big system, next to us. I don't know what it was, but that scene definitely had me shook. My double feature pairing for this is going to be alongside of none other than the other Dark Castle production, House on the Haunted Hill from 1999. I mean, why not? You've got the 2 big remakes, big genre remakes made by the same company, came out around the same time. Just put them on back to back. Try it on for size. See how you like it. Star power. So 13 Ghosts is getting a 4 out of 5 final star rating from yours truly. While it's not a perfect film, in the end, it still delivers in every area that you'd want in a horror film with this magnitude. I'd say the combination of the chaotic editing mixed with some truly disturbing elements make for a horror movie worth watching 19 years later. Lillard's a blessing. Elizabeth plays her role fine. Shalhoub plays the struggling father role with a heart, with such essence. I think everything works. It'll certainly be introduced to generations of horror fans to come for years and years down the road, no doubt about it. I think if the film gets talked about as much as it does in another 19 years from now, I mean, as much as it does today as it does in another 19 years from now, then I think it'll be fine. I mean, I think it's fine now, but I think it'll be fine down the road as well. It ain't going nowhere. I mean, where's it going to go? It's a movie. Where do movies go? They sit in our collections or digital libraries, or you get it. So yeah, I'm going to put a pin on this and call it an episode. Miss my kid, miss her to death, but she'll be back next week. Okay? So until then, y'all take care of one another, and don't forget to vote. It's a big one. Don't forget. Vote, vote, vote. All right, guys, I'm out. Take it easy.